Good evening, everyone. This is Brother Benson Media, and today we are quite much lucky than any other day. We have good panelists here, and we just want to discuss about what is taking place in our country. Especially, we want to look at the infiltration of the peaceful protest by the goons and which way out for the country. Let me take this opportunity to give my guest to say a word of hi and also to introduce themselves to our viewers. Thank you so much, my guest. Maybe Oginga could start, then we go like this.
Okay, my name is Peter Oginga Nyamweya, and I was currently a student leader at University of Nairobi. Chairman Kuso Dagoretti North constituency. Yeah, thank you for hosting me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sankara.
Oh, good evening, good people. My name is Kennedy Sankara, although on my ID they call me Ochieng. I'm a passionate, patriotic citizen and a Ruto's checkmate.
Okay, thank you so much. Engineer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Ogendo, or Engineer Tom Ogendo. I'm currently in the County Assembly of Nairobi, as well as the Executive Director of an organization called ParkNet Organization.
Okay, thank you so much. And I have my co-host always, Mr. Makubura, also who will also be part of the conversation. My main focus today is going to be what is the way out for the country or way out for the Gen Z, knowing very well that the protest that was peaceful has been infiltrated by goons. Is this one going to stop the Gen Z from realizing the dream that they had for this country? Let me invite Ken, not Ken, but Peter Oginga to tell us his thought on the way out.
I think from my end, we have already achieved what we wanted to reject financial bill. As much as we had other people who are pushing for other thoughts, like for example Miguna. I don't want to maybe start mentioning names, but venye tulianza hii maandamano, we had one agenda of rejecting financial bill, and I think we had achieved that. But I want to say something about the interpretation of the Mandamano, and I think that was not the plan. The Gen Zs, we had to stop the financial bill, and our Mandamano was successful. I think about pushing for the president to resign or other objective. I think as much as it's affecting us, the government official, the current rotten regime is affecting us. We had to push for rejecting financial bill to weigh ourselves whether we can push this government on our own, or we can fail. So, but we made a step ahead to achieve what we had already had in plan. So thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sankara.
Thank you, Ben. I think the infiltration of the peaceful protest by purportedly hired goons is a usurpation of the sovereignty of the people, because The right to peacefully assemble, picket, protest, and present petitions to public authorities is a constitutional pronouncement that every other fella must adhere to. Also, in close, I mean, pursuit of the provisions of the same constitution, Article 1 of the Constitution speaks of the sovereignty of the people. I mean, Chapter 1, Article 1 speaks of the sovereignty of the people. At Chapter 1, Article 2 speaks of the supremacy of the Constitution. Then the third article speaks of the defense of the same constitution. And the constitution is the binding law of the land. Everyone is bound to respect it. Therefore, it is a traumatizing event or unfolding event to see goons hired to infiltrate the protest, cause mayhem, and dilute the original objective of the protest. But again, that is also to give us, to expand our horizons of thoughts, because why would you hire a well stabilized young man to go and cause mayhem? It shows to you how the society has forgotten about the boy child when it comes to empowerment, so that they are left hanging and readily gullible to accept any deal, however shoddy it may be, where human life is also taken away. So we have to condemn this. And as the government always says, we have the information. Let them act on those informations, so that those politicians behind this should be charged with treason, because trying to underwater the constitutional provisions is equivalent to treasonous crimes against the law. So I think that is something that we are not going to entertain, and fear cannot set people off, sway people off the track. The journey is unstoppable. The vehicle had already left the station, and not unless the tires are punctured, we shall stop. Otherwise, the motion is progressive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sankara. Mr. Engineer Tom Ogendo.
Thank you so much, Ben. Allow me to start this way. As Gen Zs, they have achieved something, and the Gen Z's agenda was very clear in terms of pushing the government to drop the finance bill that was contentious in the entire country. And by the fact that the president agreed, or rather conceded the defeat, and agreed to reserve the bill back to parliament, it showed that our generation had already achieved something. However, it is so unfortunate that despite the fact that government realized that they lost to the Gen Zs, who are much informed and who expressed their dissatisfaction with the proposed finance bill that is for 2024, 2025, the government is trying other mechanisms to ensure that the good cause that started with the vibrancy, with a lot of order, with a lot of clarity, is diluted to mean something else in the country. It is so unfortunate that the government want to infringe Article 35, Article 35, clause 1A, that gives every Kenyan a right to access any information from the state. So by the fact that you're trying to avoid access of information, you are not only limiting the full implementation of Article 37 that allows picketing, and also you are not only undermining Article 1 of the Constitution that gives sovereign power to the people. So it was so unfortunate that the government is trying other mechanisms to ensure that the good cause of the Gen Zs, who have demonstrated their capacity to hold their government accountable, is trying to be encountered by other mechanisms that are resulting to loss of lives.
Okay, thank you. Well, just to talk about the hired goons, I think all of you remember, Makobura, you will come in and weigh your thought. All of you remember very well, there was a time then a governor for Nairobi, Sonko, was saying on how government usually use some tactics to create mayhem, giving an example of hiring people to put on ODM shirts and go and buy a vehicle somewhere, then that one will be said to be like the ODM who are participating in that. ODM fans, remember those during those protests, and Sonko said that, I can quote him. So do you think the same process or the same playbook is taking place right now?
Yes, it is true. It's the same thing that is repeating itself, though with the different people,
Yeah.
but not in different colors, because it is just the same politicians. It is the normal thing that politicians normally do when they sense defeat and when they want to tarnish the name of the good people who are championing for a good cause. So the fact that Sonko made a declaration and a confession, then we are not also convinced otherwise, as a state that this government that is full of arrogant leaders, full of people who know it all, full of people who don't want to listen, they cannot do contrary to what used to happen then, because we have now proved that this state is even more worse than the previous regime.
Okay. Maybe Mr. Oginga, do you also share the same view based on what confession the former governor for Nairobi made, and what has happened right now has made the infiltration of the peaceful protest by the Gen Z?
Yeah, Songo confession, I think is right, and the infiltration have been done. Have been done in different ways. You know,
Yeah.
The government was involved in the infiltration of ODM Azimio protest. The same way it has infiltrated in Gen Z demonstration, and you know they have won.
Yeah.
They have won, but us we have achieved our objective, right?
Yeah.
But again, we are not stopping there. As much as the goons will be sent, because I think today Nairobi Mandamano was not successful because of the businessmen in the business community.
Yeah.
They ganged up and hired goons. As much as we are saying that politicians are the one who hire goons, the business community of Nairobi also hire a lot of goons who also scared the agencies from coming to town to do Mandamano. But I really second what Engineer Ongendo said. It's always this. It's happened always. The difference is it's done by the different people. The last time it was politician, but this time I think the business.
Okay, we will wait for him to come back. He can use the line to come back to. I don't know, something is wrong with Sankara. So Ogendo, thank you so much for staying. We are waiting for our guest to come back on the studio. Makobura, do you also share the same, or there's a way you feel quite different about the infiltration of the peaceful protest?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. It is true that we saw so many goons who are not part of the people who are doing Mandamano, or the people who are trying to reject the finance bill. Remember, the main reason why the Gen Zs or the millennials, the main reason why they went to the street was because they wanted the government to stop this finance bill 2024-2025, and that they achieved. And if we look keenly, the mandamanos or the demonstrations that we've been seeing, the one which was very successful was the first one when we were rejecting the finance bill. After that, it's always normal, government or even the business community. Sometimes they take advantage and then they decide to also start hiring goons who would then come to make some confusion. Remember, a government would not always wish or want the people or other countries or people from other regions to see that the young people are taking over. So in one way or another, they will always try to use some politicians to rally some youths and pay them some peanuts, and then they're being sent to the streets to try cause some confusion. So that was normal. We've seen that in ever since this Mandamano started. Remember the time of BBI, the time of ODM and the Jubilee. It's true. Remember the engineer also uh, clearly explained how the likes of Ruto used to, I mean, the likes of Governor Sonko, the tactics that they would use to try portray their opponents as being the bad people. So the main reason why they always try to hire these youths is because whenever killings are being done, remember the police have killed so many people in the street while demonstrating, and the constitution is very clear that they shouldn't be doing that. The constitution also is very clear on at what point someone should be killed on a live bullet. So in one way or another, they're trying to justify the injustices that they cause to the people of Kenya by simply trying to hire goons who are then trying to do confusion so that they can try come up with some narrative to defend themselves that it was not really a true mandamano demonstration by the youth, but goons are also part of it.
Okay.
So if they're asked maybe why they killed people, they'll say that they were killing the goons who are trying to do the wrong thing. But deep down, if you look at the people who are killed, most of them were just peaceful people.
Okay. Um, uh, Sankara, before you left, we were just having a conversation on the playbook that is we are seeing taking place based on what Sonko made a confession of some few years back about the tactics that are being used. I think you're aware of saying on how the government was employed some people, planted some people who were putting on ODM clothes to feel like the people were causing destruction, but in real sense they were not. And we are seeing maybe the same storybook is playing part right here. Do you share the same? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, did you get my question?
Yes, histories replicate or history repeats itself. Then government is like a dark cat in a dark room. We will never know how it operates, but we can easily predict. Because no one came out to clearly clarify what Songo claimed. Therefore, his proclamation still hold water. That a government, whatever we see is far from the truth. What if the government hired these goons to come and paint the picture of young people as Gen Zs being violent, backward stereotypes? What if they hired the goons to come and infiltrate the peaceful protest to find grounds to put or to tighten the ropes against peaceful protest? A aim that is moving towards infringing on basic constitutional provisions. So just as Sonko claimed that politicians hire goons to come and demonstrate, the other time they did with ODM, they printed ODM t-shirts, they made young people wear them, brought old vehicles on the road, set them on fire, called the media, and painted a picture of a violent youth wing of the ODM party. So I think the same thing is happening today. Only that this time we are wise. We already know who are trying to do these theatrics. And government in almost all scenarios, people change, but the tactics remains the same.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise. I know there are some dimwits in this government who lie to the presidency that they can handle this thing which is out of hand. You cannot treat diarrhea by basically blocking the anus. You must seek medication. So trying to create violence to thwart this peaceful protest is an action in futility. It will fail terribly.
Okay, thank you so much. And there are so many incidents that have taken place during this time that maybe might be as a way of putting distraction on the people who are demonstrating. Remember, there was also a circular that came out from SRC about the salary at the middle when the country is at crisis. Why would somebody or an officer do that, knowing very well that now the environment is very hostile, especially when it comes to things to do with budgeting and money? Was that one a trick to see how far the citizen of Kenya would protest? Maybe, engineer, your thought before we come to Peter Oginga.
Okay, I want to say this. SERC did what the Constitution envisioned them to do because it is under the constitutional regulation that we have to revise the salaries for public servants after every year. So we understand in the government calendar, we have just started the first quarter of financial year.
Yes.
However, we want to also thank the public for being vigilant and also holding the state accountable in terms of the actions and the steps that they take in terms of accessing the what we call the public benefits. So SERC did what the Constitution requires them to do. However, the timing was wrong. However, if you read Article 232 of the Constitution, it speaks about the values and principles of a public service. It's they're dedicated with the responsibility of giving transparent and accurate information to the public. So SERC, in line with what the Constitution requires, did their constitutional duty. And it is now upon the members of parliament, or rather the bona fide members who benefited from this particular increment of the salary, to exercise caution and also take into consideration the current events that are happening in the country. Mm-hmm. And as a country, we have seen that from the action that the Gen Zs really pushed forward, really discussed, really pushed the president and all the public civil servants, that this time round we are even proposing your decrease, or rather you people to kind of forgo some benefits. So SERC did their work, but now it is a positive response from the people who benefited from this increment of salaries.
Okay, Mr. Oginga, what do you say?
For me, I'll say that I've seen that from a different perspective, and I think it's constitutional for SSC to, according to the constitution, to increase the salary of public servant. But this was the wrong timing, because now I feel like there's push and pull among the public service, the legislature, and the executive, and maybe the haters of the government maybe thought that maybe we can this is the time to break a Bandora's dome to the public, that we have in this economic crisis we're in. Mm-hmm. There's the government, the government official wants again to be increase their salary. As much as it's constitutional, it was not the right timing. I think the revolution or the haters of the government who are championing against the government, who are in the government, who are in the system. I think they released they announced the increment of the salary because this was the wrong timing. That's my point.
Okay, Makobura.
Yes, the SRC did their work, yes, but as much as they did it. I think they would have given the people of Kenya a little more time to first deal with the issue at hand. Those are the issues which are being presented by the youths. But again, somehow it was a nice thing coming up with it at this time, because it has now, we are now talking about it. And the good thing, if maybe they would have brought it sometime later, the energy of talking about it would have reduced. So it is nice that they brought it when the people are very much awake, and it was tackled by the people immediately it came out. And out of that, truly we've seen it's been rejected, as from the presidency to the legislatures, and everyone is saying no to it. There is no need at this point increasing salaries of civil servants at a point where a good number of youths cannot even afford their basic needs, at a time where doctors are going for strike, teachers are always going for strike. And the most unfortunate thing here that I'm seeing is it's so unfortunate that they keep increasing. Whenever they're doing a review, there's always an increase in salary. But the people who are also employed by the government but are in a lower space, they're not really increasing their salary. So this is something wrong, and that is why we are saying whenever people are going for demonstration, as much as the police they are mandated to ensure that there's peace and order, they're not supposed to excessively use their power to kill the protesters, because these protesters are simply also fighting for them and for their children and for their brothers and sisters. So, in one way or another, it is wrong for the police officers to always uh, bring confusion and also kill unarmed protesters, when these protesters are simply reminding the government or people in leadership that they have a role to work, when the youth are simply trying to remind the people in leadership that they vote under the constitution of Kenya. They carried it and said it before a multitude of people that we will do this as per the constitution. Doing that as per the constitution, leading as per the constitution, requires them that they ensure that there is no corruption within the government. It requires them that they listen to the people whenever they are making critical decisions, things which are going to affect the lives of the people who elected them. So members or people who are in leadership are somehow taking us for a ride, and I'm so happy by the way the youth of the Republic of Kenya have woken up, and they're seeing truly that if they decide to sleep or if they decide to keep quiet, these people are going to send us somewhere away from this republic. So we as a people, we are reclaiming back the lost glory of the Republic of Kenya. And I want to tell the youth to continue with the same spirit. If we continue with the same spirit, we are going to ensure that all those leaders who are corrupt are taken home. All those who have looted, I want to remind the youth that they have to fight until they ensure that they recover the money that these public servants looted.
Okay.
So the cause is still on.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's talk about trust, because this is one area where the Kenyan people are not trusting the institution that we have. starting from the presidency, the parliament, the judiciary, and some other constitutional offices. How will the protest that we've had, or what is now being pushed for, will make the people gain that trust with the presidency, even as president also is promising that tomorrow is going to be on the space? How will we gain that trust, Mr. Sankara?
Well, you know, character is like pregnancy. You can't hide it. If you are crooked, you are crooked. There is no two way about it. I have seen people try to paint this um, demonstrations as all sorts of names. I saw the cabinet whatever calling it. I mean, calling protesters anarchist. It is okay, but public trust is very important. And I do sum it up by saying the presidency, in some instances, may forget about popular legitimacy and instead embrace parliamentary majority, which is often underrated and thwarted by the popular legitimacy because the sovereignty is to the masses. So at this point in time, anything that the president says is a lie. Even the Twitter space is trying to host tomorrow. To me, those are wastage of time. He's just coming to lie his usual lies. So trust has been lost. The confidential, engagement between the people and the president is eroded, and no longer are we going to uh, uh, engage on trust. And once trust is gone, there is no leadership. We will always see a thief in everything that any government agent does. We will always see a liar in any statement or in any person that makes statements on behalf of the government. So trust is very vital. Once it's lost, it's like marriage. People should depart.
Oh, Mr. Tom, what do you say about the trust? Do you think the presidency or the executive is going to get the trust of the people, even as he wants to engage, even forming that multi-sectoral committee to have that conversation between him and what the people want? Will that trust be there?
Uh, 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 Benson, I'll say this without fear of contradiction. It's a very hard for president to regain that trust, based on the fact that he has disappointed many people, not once, not twice, with his timely promises. And in the long run, he has ended up not achieving even a single one. So he started by organizing the cabinet, one, that doesn't listen, the cabinet that is incompetent, two, taking people for an advantage by trying to play the populist role, but not taking into consideration what people want. So in our country, one major setback, one major challenge that we receive as a people is trust deficit with our leadership. We have a leadership that once they assume the office, as what Kevin said, they take everybody for a joyride. They take everybody as their puppet. They take everybody as their subject, not their bosses. So it's very hard for this current regime to regain that trust from the people. And you can hear that is why we have the common hashtag, the president must go.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Ogenga, what do you say?
I think we have lost trust from the president, but if the president meet our demands, I think as much as we cannot trust, we cannot give all our trust to the president, but if they meet our demands, maybe it can be compromised by the citizen. Another thing I want to say, I think there's conspiracy among the state officials because we we have had a lot of time double speaking from maybe Rigathi Gachagua, another statement from the president, different statement. I think they don't even trust themselves. How can a citizen trust them? And then another thing I want to put across is from now maybe it should be involving citizens for public participation, so that maybe citizen can feel involved in the decision making, even policy making, amendment, and evaluation of policy. So
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's, Makobura, I'll come to you. Let's come to Parliament, because if you look at the 13th Parliament that we have, in the history of Parliament democracy, this is the worst Parliament ever, or even in the history of Kenya. And that Parliament is where the laws and bills are being passed. Now, how can we make sure right now as we go forward? Because most of the parliamentary are facing hostility. But how can we make sure that coming next year or coming next general election, if we do have, that we have people who are very competent? That is another question, because at first we might say that Ruto must go. If he goes and the people that we have in parliament are not even thinking very wisely, what can we do? Because the trust is not there even in the parliament too.
Yes, first, on the issue of trust, I think the people of Kenya lost trust when this government started operating after Ruto was sworn in as the president, when he took over the mantle of leadership. Remember, on the same day when he was being sworn in, there are some critical, serious wordings that he used, and he promised the people of Kenya so many things. After some time, we realized with the people that among the things that Ruto promised, none. He actually actualized none. But what we saw was he was doing contrary to what he promised. So that is the first time that the people started losing trust in him. And again, when he was doing his campaigns, he was very clear. He said that hii serikali tutaunda na wamama wa mboga mboga, sijui watu wa bodaboda, wamama sijui wa wapi, the youths. And then when he was then doing the nominating the public servants, he gave this position to political allies, most of which were very corrupt, most of which had cases, had active cases in the courts of the law, in the courts of Kenya. So that was one thing that he did again that made the people of Kenya lose trust in him. And after some few days again, after nominating this specified corrupt individual to the cabinet positions, he then started withdrawing cases, working with the judiciary, meaning he compromised the judiciary to let go the erroneous acts that these cabinet secretaries had made when performing their duties. Now again, remember, the people of Kenya have been having problems here and there. Instead of addressing issues affecting the people of Kenya, he keeps on promising or adding other promises on top. But there's nothing serious since William Samoei Ruto got into power. There's nothing that is ever done that the people of Kenya can say that this is what the president has done. The only thing we know him of is traveling every weekend or every week, going to, I think he's the most traveled president in the world if we try to count all the kind of travels that he's made. So these are the things that we are talking about as the youths of the Republic of Kenya. When you promise us something, you have to deliver. Or the good thing you do, don't promise. If you don't promise, when you promise someone something, they will always keep on remembering. Whenever they see you, they see a promise that you made. So the president has literally lost trust from the people. based on his activities, based on his behaviors, based on how he handles serious issues affecting the people of Kenya. Gaining that trust is not going to be easy. There is no one who is going to trust William Samoei Ruto again in this republic. And he knows that whenever a whole president, the only thing that people knows him about is tumetenga hii, tutafanya hii in the coming months. These are things we are no longer kids. We want actions. If we cannot action, there's nothing. We should not expect much from him. After having the meetings, maybe he's going to kind of change his behavior. But I want to promise the people of Kenya that the goal, we should focus where we are headed, because this government, there is nothing that is going to change. Remember, the same corrupt people who William Ruto nominated to the cabinet secretary are the same ones who are still holding those positions. So we should not expect much from them. The members of parliament, he has bought almost all of them. They're being told what to do. They can't think by themselves. They are being driven in a specific direction. They can't drive themselves. They can't make critical decisions affecting the people who elected them. And again, they are, instead of respecting the people who elected them, they are coming out to tell the people that these people, especially the youth, they know nothing. They should relax and let the leaders rule them. Those are dictatorship. We are not going to accept such kind of comments from people we elected, people that we are paying by our taxes. As the youth, I want to tell the youth to be ready. This government, starting from the presidency to the bottom, the way they say it, there's nothing nice that we are going to get from them.
Okay. Mark, Sankara, what can you say about the parliament?
I have always said that the first mandate William Ruto executed when he took over power was to capture, castrate, and declare parliament unfunctional or dysfunctional. He went ahead and bought judiciary through enticement, judicial fund increment, employment of judges. Little did they know that these were makings of a dictator. Whenever the president speaks, you can easily predict the future of his statement. Actually, when he stands on a platform and faces the people, you can predict the exact lies he's going to give. I think it's not something nice to have a presidency that thinks that the doctrine of separation of power that gives the supreme power to all these three arms of government is a waste of time. I don't think it is right for the president to be the president, to be the chief justice, to be the speaker of the National Assembly. At the same time, extend his duties as the commander in chief. I think the president should know that he's just a mere servant of the people in a prestigious position. We are not his servants. So attempting to capture parliament is a roadmap to dictatorship, because constitutionally, parliament is obligated to execute three constitutional roles: oversight, representation, and legislation. The moment parliament is captured, there is no proper legislation. There might be legislation in the 13th parliament, but proper is the missing link. The moment parliament is captured, there is no oversight. That's why William Ruto can wake up, travel like, I equate his behaviors to a Form 1 pupil, student, who wants to join all the clubs in the school. He wakes up, he sees people in the debate club, he registers as a debater. He goes to the environment, does everything. That's what our president does. That cannot work if there is element of checks and guidance from the senior students, who is parliament. So the usurpation, the capture of parliament is a usurpation of the sovereignty of the people of Kenya. And as patriots, we must stand firmly against it. And that's why we demand for immediate change of parliamentary leadership so that we have a leadership that is more loyal to the constitution and the people than the people who put them in power through other people's donated powers.
Yes, maybe Engineer Tom, what's your take on that?
Okay, I'll start from where Sankara left. We have a parliament that is not people centered, despite people donating those powers to them. Rather, the parliament that has been compromised to serve the interest of the executive, which is so unfortunate. However, I want to tell Sankara, we don't need, we are not lacking proper legislation. We might be having proper legislation, but geared in the wrong direction. We have been having legislation that is not issue based, centered, in as far as our need assessment is concerned, because we cannot have a legislation that implements 100% of the policies that favor the legacy of the administration, or rather the executive, without taking into consideration the needs of the people. We must
And
have.
that's why, and that's why I say it is improper, because
So
by
just
the word proper, it is in cooperative of the people's mindset and interest. So the moment we have legislations which are progressive or enacted by parliament, but they do not consider the people's interest, it ceases to be a proper legislation.
So in that word, it's okay. I agree with you. However, we are having legislators who, to some extent, we say is majority of them don't understand what they are doing in Parliament. A good number have gone there to strike deals. They are dealers instead of leaders, and they have been taking advantage of the existing vacuum in terms of citizen accountability. So they think even if we do this way, these people won't understand what we are doing. They don't understand, blah, blah. So that link between civic education and also the role performed by most of our members of parliament, you find we have a very wide gap that we must fill. And I'm happy the Gen Zs have started that discussion, that today members of parliament will consider before they pass any bill in the National Assembly, then they have to take into consideration the reaction of the people. So parliament must understand their responsibility, and by the fact that we have realized the kind of people we are dealing with, it means we must also increase citizen accountability to ensure that we all these people accountable up to the last the last phase of their full tenure of 5 years. So parliament, we have been having an incompetent parliament where majority they don't understand why they exist in parliament. Others, they just know our mandate are three: legislation, oversight, and representation. But now we did a mistake in our constitution, and I'm happy the court has pronounced itself in this matter of CDF. We have moved to another fourth role of parliament, which is administration, rather executive role. Giving members of parliament CDF won't allow them to reason soberly, because even in the midst of implementation of other things, they just think, okay, fine, I have 130 for CDF. So what is the need of even appearing in parliament just to bank maybe an allowance of 5,000? So this CDF, by the fact that the enactors of our constitution proposed it to the members of parliament, it was a very big mess for our country, since the parliament is charged with the responsibility of looking after the organizer, the entity that is the national executive, which is in charge of all major policies in the country. So our parliament is important. It cannot breed any law that is people centered other than serving specific individual, who in this case is the president.
Okay, did Mr. Peter Ogingawe put on his thought about the trust of the parliament?
Not yet. Is next.
I think our parliament is captured, and we are not expecting anything good to come from the parliament. The members of the parliament have think this country. They pass bills that maim the citizen, the livelihood of the citizens. And since now Gen Zs have stood up for themselves, we have stood up for ourselves. I think this time, I think they'll be more careful when passing these bills. And I think now I've had some MPs talking and putting across their perspective about the agencies mandamano, and I've seen that some of them are regretting, and some of them have opened their eyes, because now ni kama Ruto aliwauza kwa watu, because alikataa kusign the financial bill, and I think now members of parliament have opened their eyes. We are hoping something good from the parliament from now, and I hope they'll do their work, they'll do due diligence of their work.
Yes, again, I think we should also not forget to talk about tomorrow's meeting that the president will be having with the Gen Zs in space. I would like to hear your opinions on what we should expect, the kind of questions the president should expect from the people. And also, since we are all youths in this platform, I would like to hear your takes on the important issues that among the people who will be visiting or getting into this space to have this discussion. Which kind of questions should they ask the president? After that, maybe I would also ask you to give a view on what you think the president would be requesting from the people that he wants to hear from. Maybe
Okay. Do I continue?
Yes, you should.
I think we should stop wasting time for Kenyans with useless expresses. Before William Ruto contested for presidency, he used to roam and later the environment with endless chopper travels to all the 47 counties except Nyanza region, doing what we called regional economic block meetings. So he has the answers. He knows what we want. There is no reason for wasting time in the name of sitting with people down. I mean, why do you think it will only be responsible for the president to do economic block meeting in person in all 47 counties, rotating in some villages more than thrice in a week? Then he sets a day of 2 or 3 hours to listen to Kenyans on X. How many Kenyans are on X? How many youths are on X? Some of the demonstrators are not even available on those X spaces. So the president should stop cloud chasing with emergencies. Let him just be serious enough, do the needful, fire Musalia Mudavadi, dissolve his unconstitutional office, fire people like Murkomen, take him home, let Oscar Sudi and Silvanus Osoro present themselves to the ESC headquarters and declare their source of wealth. Let us disband the prayerful office. God can listen to us even from the latrine. We don't need someone's office to pray for Kenyans. Actually, Kenya Kwanza is a justification that prayers could not solve good governance. Good governance requires citizen accountability demand. So it is a waste of time. He is going to request the people to give him more time. While he got to office, he requested for more time. The best thing he has been doing in these 2 years, he has borrowed more than what Uhuru borrowed. The drunkard they used to call Uhuru a drunkard at set as the SGR we can see. The drunkard built as an expressway we can see. But the prayerful man, the only man who can call God on his phone call, has done us nothing. He has collected one of the most useless bunch of characters in the name of CSS, people who are bored to loot this country to the last coin. The best thing William Ruto's administration has brought forth is disorganization and scandal, amassing public wealth. Someone who was just putting some old coats. I saw 10 years ago, Murkomen's coat was like, I mean, a dried goat skin, forgotten in the outside. Today, Murkomen is a designer suit merchant, putting on very expensive watches. You ask them, where do you work? He only knows how to quote 700 million when it comes to repair of anything that he does. So the president should spare us that ample time. He should just do the needful. X is not a solution. Not all young people are on X. And I think that is being discriminatory because everyone wants to listen to him. So I don't know when did we begin to have national conversation on platforms like X, especially conversations that are chaired by the presidency. It is the joke of the 21st century. I think the Nisitumbi is crazily misadvising the president. Now the president is between a rock and
Mr.
a hard
Sankara,
place, trying
I
to
think
fit square pegs on round holes. It will not work.
I think the reason why the president and his people decided to come to X is because remember they had invited youths to a meeting. They said that the youth of the Republic of Kenya should select at least two, but then the youths reacted and said that we don't have a leader. We are here in space, and this is where we've been conducting our meetings and also planning for anything. So I think that is the reason why he decided to come to X. Mr. Engineer, what's your take on tomorrow's meeting that the president will be having with the youths?
Okay, thank you for that question. Allow me to say this. It is good that president is trying to prove a point, at the same time trying to play a victim. Proving a point of a person who listens, a person who cares, and a person who is always willing to engage. However, those are not the true characters of the president we have in this country. The fact that president agreed to come to X, I must say, to some extent, he fell into the traps of the young people. Something he ought not to have agreed with. Because youths want a meaningful engagement. An engagement where people will reason together without fear of victimization. And perhaps that is why the young people suggested the X space so that they can have that confidence in terms of their expression. Because we are dealing with a regime that has a history in terms of extrajudicial killing. Because the only difference now is our current head of state was 10 years, or rather some 3 years ago, was a deputy president in a state where extrajudicial killing was the order of the day. So by the fact that these fears were created in the eyes of the public, promoted the conversation to be taken to a space where youths believe they are safe, where youths believe they won't be set into traps. That, okay, fine, you have fronted these people as your leaders, so these are the people we are going to deal with to ensure that we teach you a lesson you people will never forget. So in as far as that engagement is meaningful to the president, However, in my own opinion, I don't see the necessary of that meeting at this particular time. The president heard the Gen Zs clearly in their demands. And if the president meant good for this country, it was uh, prudent upon him to act accordingly. We cried of corruption. We said the president, almost 99.9% of your cabinet secretaries are people with the filthy hands. These are people with the different cases in the corridors of justice in this country. Fire them. We told the president we have so many unnecessary expenditure in government. Your government is wasteful. Ensure something is done. We want a country where youth employability is discussed beyond normal manifesto rhetorics. We want a youth employability policy in this country. At some point, when Uhuru was just about to conclude his last term, Uhuru had started a discussion in parliament where they were proposing a bill to subsidize an internship opportunity for the young people in this country. Immediately this regime ascended into power, they ignored such an important policy that was going to ensure that at least we solve issues around unemployment. So our youth are crying. We are not just idle by default. We are idle with our knowledge in our head, with our papers under our beds. We cannot do anything. Nobody is initiating such a discussion. So these are noble discussions that cannot be done in an X space. So the action by the president to have a meeting tomorrow in the X space is ill-informed. It is not based on good practice that is under the governance. It is something that ought not to have happened, and it should not be given audience even with a single person. Instead, it should uh, host that space and find all his cabinets are the participants. But as young people, we want candid and honest discussion, not where the president guides us on a number of issues that we're supposed to tackle, but us inviting him on the table and sharing our issues as they listen. And by extension, we can even offer pro bono on the best mechanism they can adopt to solve our issues, if need be.
Very nice. So maybe we are about to end the show. Allow me to give each one of you a chance to give their last remarks. I don't know whether Sankara is there.
I'm here. Don't you see me?
Yeah, you can. What's your last remarks? What did you tell the people of
My
Kenya
last
and the youth?
remarks are very simple.
Yes.
You can lie to some people sometime, and sometime some of the people, but not all the people all the time. It is high time William Ruto wakes up to know that he has the power with the wrong constitution. He has more tactics at the wrong time. This is not the time to abduct, torture, kill people for asking for what is already a constitutional gain. This is the time to sit people down and reason together as a nation, because it's just stamping arrogance and defiance is only tantamount to a falling dictator. I have no more word for William Ruto, but we as the sovereign guards, we will always be here to ensure that the country is governed the right way. Thank you.
Engineer, your last remarks.
My last remark is I'll tell everybody we are in the jungle. The lion was in charge of the jungle, and unfortunately, the lion is toothless and cannot feed the children anymore. So it is upon the children to come out and guard our territory, our jungle from any inventory from an enemy. So let us come out and protect our country. Let us come out and remind William Samoei Ruto that this government is by the people, for the people, and the interest must directly influence or change the lives of the people. He won't lead with the old tactics, with the new constitution that gives citizens all sovereign power. And we also want to caution the state officials who think they can dictate everybody in this country. We won't relent, we won't stop, we will push until we change the status quo in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Peter Oginga, what's your last remarks to the people watching and to the Republic?
I think we just need to keep pushing. We have tried our best so far, and at least now we can talk and they listen. And our main demands, we want our main demands to be addressed, so that maybe we can see and maybe achieve our greater future of our country.
Okay, that's nice. Let me take this opportunity to thank our guests, Engineer Tom Ogendo, Kennedy Sankara, and Peter Oginga. Thank you so much for finding time to come to BBM. It was nice having this conversation. This is a platform that we use to try educate the people of Kenya, and we also give a chance to young people to express their voice. Remember, the people of Kenya, especially the youth, have been going through a lot, and no one has been listening to them. So, in this platform, we majorly talk about issues affecting the people of Kenya and the youth. And I'm also taking this opportunity to say thank you to all our viewers. And if you're new, you can like and subscribe to BBM channel. So I'll just end the show, and we will invite you next time. Thank you and have a good evening.